An AI-generated draft can look complete even though nobody has reviewed or approved it. Without an explicit gate, that draft may move into revision, formatting, or publishing while important questions remain unresolved. In this tutorial, we will build a human review gate in Claude. It will prepare a draft for review, record the human decision, and create an approved handoff only after the current draft version is explicitly approved. This is the third worker in our controlled content system. The content organizer turns rough notes into an approved brief. The draft writer turns that approved brief into a draft labeled Human Review Required. The Human Review Gate receives both items and controls the decision state. Claude organizes the review, but the human remains responsible for approval. Create a Claude project named Human Review Gate. Use this description, prepares AI-generated content for a human decision, and creates an approved handoff only after explicit approval. On the project page, find the Instructions panel on the right and select the pencil icon. This is where we install the reusable operating rules. The instructions allow only 3 states: pending review, changes requested, and approved. Every draft must have an identifier such as draft v1. The gate must never infer approval from conversational language. It accepts only an explicit approval statement naming the current version, or an explicit change request with instructions. A revised draft receives a new identifier and returns to pending review. Claude never approves or revises the content on the human's behalf. For the first test, we submit the approved brief and draft v1 from the previous tutorial without a human decision. The gate returns a human review packet with the status pending review. It checks the audience, central message, outline, call to action, source-supported claims, and known gaps. The missing case study remains visible. It then presents the exact approval and change request statements. No approved handoff is created. Now we test the boundary. We respond, looks good. Continue. The gate does not treat that conversational phrase as approval. Draft v1 remains pending review, and Claude repeats the exact decision options. Next, we explicitly request a stronger opening while preserving the approved audience, message, outline, and call to action. The status becomes changes requested. The instructions are recorded exactly, but the gate does not revise the draft and produces no approved handoff. The revised content is submitted as draft v2. Because this is a new version, it returns to pending review. The earlier decision for draft v1 does not transfer. The gate creates a new review packet, checks the revised opening against the approved brief, preserves the unresolved case study gap, and waits for a decision naming draft v2. This time, we enter the exact statement, approve draft v2 for the next workflow step. The gate assigns approved and creates an approved handoff for that version only. The remaining source gap stays visible, and the next step remains under the workflow owner's control. The handoff also states that approval does not mean the content is published, scheduled, formatted, or ready to publish. You now have 3 focused workers. One organizes the brief, one creates the draft, and one controls the review decision. This no-code gate is not a technical permission system, so important actions still require human verification. Try it with one AI-generated draft from your business. Move the draft through pending review, changes requested, and approved before connecting another workflow step.